Hey there, traders. David here of Trading Fizz and MarketFi to bring you today's spotlight trend trades of the day. Any and all charts presented here today are for educational purposes only. While I may or may not have positions in the charts presented here, it is the application of the T3 trending strategy to these charts that may offer you a future opportunity based on strong or weak fundamentals at this time. Before we get into today's trend trade setups, I want to take a couple minutes and share with you where some of the sources I use, particular you might have some as well, for what we call value-based investing. Value-based investing, which then you would use your technical entries to enter on. The T3 trending strategy, which can be used on any chart or any time frame or any market, can be applied. But it's, again, weird. What screener could you use, what stocks, and the truth is that we don't have enough video time to cover all that. So I'm going to just go ahead and give you my Cliff Notes version and starting with a site that we call Guru Grades. Now, this is cxoadvisory.com/gurus, and back in 2005 through 12, they did a study which they collected over 6,500 forecasts from 68 what they would call experts. Now, I would probably call you an expert out there, but your name didn't make the list, unfortunately. Mine didn't either. I'm simply a crumb trader. But here we could see from Robert Precher at the bottom, Elliott Wave expert, 24 forecasts with an accuracy of 20.8. And again, limitations to the study. But the truth is, from a range of what we call market experts, you can see the percentage accuracy ain't so hot. Now, if 68.2% is what we call the top, which I would call pretty decent, then I would look to somebody at the top, because I'm not an expert when it comes to value investing, and so I leave that to the experts. What I call myself an expert trend trader of one sort. There's other varieties of trend trades, but the trending strategy that I've chosen, I believe that I'm pretty good at, but they don't have a list for that. So anyway, let's get right into the list here. And so looking at this list, one particular person I enjoy is Jason Kelly, here at 59.7% with 126 forecasts, which is a pretty reasonable number in the top 10, where you can see the majority were, Ken Fisher, 120, about the same number, with a little bit higher. But really, when it comes down to it, you got to find a source that you find to be fundamentally strong. And so a couple of those, the one I just mentioned, you can visit jasonkelly.com is a website where he talks about his 3-signal, visiting your stocks every quarter. Oldschoolvalue.com is something that I've been receiving for years. Enjoy the research, enjoy the interesting analysis of value-based investing, and including the Daily Shadow Trader, who runs a voice trading, a live trading room through Thinkorswim. He has his own media site, etc. Share information out there, and including the IBD, Investors Business Daily, from the CAN-SLIM to the IBD 50 to the New America. These are all great resources where I pull stock ticker names. This isn't something that I open up a Forbes magazine that was written a month ago on information that's a month old. I want something current, something that's being talked about today, and apply a chart to it. And so I also enjoy watching the IBD market wrap that I'll share today, some of the ideas that were thrown out there, including the fact that airlines broke down below their 200-day line. So hey, let's go ahead and apply it to a chart. So that's the first fundamental thing, is you got to find a source. It could be, sometimes your source can be as easily as picking a chart or a screener. So let me go ahead and pull up an example of 2 stocks today here, and on the Thinkorswim platform, I'm sure all of you guys have a way of screening different stocks. Here in the upper right hand corner, you have a way of what we call load symbols to sells. Now, I'm not doing a stock screener at this point. I'm just doing a simple load symbols to sells, where I would pull up a chart on, hey, what were the percentage gainers today, or what could possibly be an upcoming dividend, or I could pull up the S&P 100 and simply apply my chart method to those stocks that I feel are of maybe perhaps some value, or maybe have increased volume, and keeping your chart simple. So what is a lot of the times a problem with a chart like this? For instance, we have a 15-minute chart here of Great Basin on the right-hand side, and it showed up as having a huge volume gain today in the market. Now, I don't use 15-minute charts, but if you pull up a 15-minute chart and see, wow, that was great, that stock screener or that showed a huge percentage in gain today. But if I go to my range chart over the long period of time, I have a stock that's pretty much sitting in a downtrend. And so that little that candle right there is sitting in the middle, just showed a nice little uptick because it was a stock screener. It showed a percentage gain for the day, but it's not something I would be sitting in for the long term. Now, the entry on this, which I'll show you on some of my other charts, would have been a little bit farther back. And again, love to see entries like this. Love to find opportunities here. And so, again, if you're following a particular stock and you're waiting for that entry, simply apply the same strategy that you've been using on your trading plan every day, just looking for possible winners. And so, always learning to keep your stocks, your charts simple, as you can see here. One using, and you know, these kind of charts, they work for people. It's got a moon cycle, it's got lines, and to no disrespect, hey, ticks are ticks. If you made profit, good for you. But taking a look at charts like this, here's another example of a chart. Okay, wonderful trend lines and whatever other lines they have on here. We have a MACD and an RSI here at the bottom. Some obviously notes and also stock charts like we have right here, which you know, to that person makes all the sense in the world. But my job in sharing the charts with you is to make sure that it's simple, it's understandable, just like I showed you over here. Whether you're running a stock screener or not, it comes down to simple moving averages. Sometimes, as like Jeff Quinto said, you just use simple moving averages. Choose your moving averages. The more technical indicators you apply to your charts, sometimes the less you'll take a trade.
Real buttermilk.
So, having said that, let's jump right into some of the stocks that I saw come across my way today as I was listening in through the live trading room and some on other stock channels as well. And so let's jump into RAX here. You can see Rackspace, which was a stock that was mentioned a couple of days ago in the Shadow Trader
cheese biscuit only at Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
As we tend to listen in sometimes in our own live trading room, here we can see price action came down back here on February 2nd, popped back upside, which would put you into the trade to the long side, and you would simply manage your stop on the way up with a trailing stop at most every recent swing size. Price eventually turned back down, and so the one of the and again, I don't agree with all recommendations, but one of the recommendations at this point, with no disrespect, was this was a time for price action to come upside. And so, like a good trader, I went online, did my own analysis, came up with it, tweeted it out, and said, hey, there's just no way I'm getting into this stock as it was approaching the previous swing size low. And obviously, as you saw in the chart, it's already past that point. I'm looking for this thing to turn around just like you saw here. A simple strategy, a 534 EMA and a T3 and a T310 crossover with the highest probability to put me into the upside. I also use a 50 and a 144 EMA to show where are the bulls and the bears in a particular market or equity. And you can see here this nice run up matched exactly price action above the 50, above the 144 until it broke downside. So if I believe that RAX, based on strong fundamentals, is to make its way back upside, yeah, a little bit of a sell-off, then I'm going to wait for price action to at least break the 144 and to show me on a smaller time frame. This is a 100-tick range chart. I'd probably go to a 50-tick range chart to splice into the trade to the upside. So there's RAX for you. We'll come back to the airlines in a little bit. So we have RAX. Here we have Sprouts, which has been talked about out lately, as Sprouts has been having a similar downtrend as Whole Food Markets has, thinking that maybe you'd be able to splice in again. If you're following this on a 100-tick range chart, you don't have you have one or two bars crossing over. That's why you splice down to a smaller time frame to get you into the trade. As you can see, I wouldn't have taken the initial entry unless I had my stop all the way back here at 27. Second best opportunity was right here around between 28.63 and 29.17 to put you into the trade. And now with a 534 crossover and a pullback, I would wait for price action to go back upside with Heiken Ashi candles or whatever trend bars you follow, and then to enter into the trade and simply follow my trailing stop. Looking here at Whole Foods, again, similar story. Again, we're in a downtrend. It has not turned itself around like you see here in this from November until the mid-March. So if this is prices to continue downside on Whole Foods, I would go into a 50-tick range chart, splice in to the downside on the same exact setup, T3 moving average crossovers and 534 in the red. Here we go, Bristol Myers on an uptrend. As you can see, price action crossed over here, solid body, Heikin Ashi. So that's where Bristol Myers already clearing a most recent high, but settling around there. So again, 100-tick range chart, big picture, splice into a smaller, go into a 50-tick range. Some other stocks mentioned out there on the Shadow Trader. Here we have LinkedIn, talked about a lot out there on the market waves, not just on Shadow Trader, but again, LinkedIn in a downslide. As you can see, a couple upticks with a 534 crossover, only to regain its position to the downside. So nothing that's been able to hold upside. So again, it's if you believe for some value reason, price action on LinkedIn is not going to fall any lower, then you get ready for the move to the upside. Again, you've had several opportunities, so I would stick to a 100-tick range chart until I really had some movement and just trail my stop. And trailing your stop means, a profit on the way up, and hopefully you won't lose money by moving your stop to break even at some point. Again, I hope you get the big picture. Again, you want to look for the simple and technical entry, but you have to go back to the values and fundamentals. And in no way am I on this video telling you that the fundamentals on LinkedIn are absolutely superb and you've found a bottom and you should enter now. What I'm saying is if all your other research, whatever source you pick, maybe some of the ones I shared with you, go to IBD, typed in LinkedIn, it's number one in its category, and right now it's just been selling off. I don't know why it'd be number one in selling off, but for whatever reason, it's return on equity as well. For whatever reason, the company has been downtrending, and you find that there's a turnaround at some point based on some value reason. That just keep it simple. Look for the reentry on the crossover of the T3 and the Heikin Ashi bars or any other trend bar to keep you in trend. Here we have Alibaba, which we all know, IPO, and Chinese group has been holding up really strong here. Solid Heikin Ashi bars, all in the green, 534, so strong trend to the upside. Earnings just came out a couple weeks ago. Here we are, last week actually. About 2 weeks ago. L Brands here, another stock mentioned out there. In trend to the downside with a couple pullbacks, so nothing big change on that. And Best Buy, as it continues downside, watch for this most recent level here as price action coming up on it. If you're looking for Best Buy, just like we saw on the racks, then what I would do is go to a 50-tick range chart or a 25-tick range chart, splice into the day trend that might turn to the upside. If you believe the Best Buy value is where it should be, fundamentals are strong, then you could turn that around and wait for the signal. Don't just buy blindly because, hey, it's right here at the bottom before it turned right back upside, so that must be it. As you can see on the racks, it's still moving to the downside. Let's jump right in to some of the stocks mentioned out there on IBD land. Two in particular, as we see here, Analog Devices. Analog Devices, a company with what they call the 35-day flat base, with a buy point right now at 5% above the IBD. Again, you can go watch their video for that of 65.05, and now you can see price action moving up. So if you're an IBD follower, you didn't have to wait necessarily for this point. You could have entered back here. You could have put a stop here and to re-enter. Your stop might have probably been taken out. Re-enter here. Again, if you're a swing size trader, you're not necessarily getting in and out and in and out. You can apply a three sig, Jason Kelly's 3-sig, which is revisit your investments every quarter. If you've increased your profits but more than 3%, you move your money to a bond fund or whatever else you move your money into. You can read all his information on his website. But again, the idea here is that you don't see charts. Again, some people can do it. You don't see charts like this that are up in front of you. You see charts up in front of you that keep it simple. I'm looking at simple moving averages crossing over with a 534 to keep you in trend. Again, this is a 100-tick range chart. You want to splice in, go to a 50-tick range chart. If you believe the fundamentals of Analog Devices is to continue heading up, then enter on the correct timing. And the correct timing for me is exactly what you see right here. That would have been the entry back here before 65.05. My entry would have been at 63.33. Here we have JMEI, Jumi International. As you can see, has been in a nice uptrend, coming up to a approaching a former high over here, but above its 50-period moving average. Strong fundamentals, belief by IBD. So read up on this company right now. A slight pullback, and you might want to wait for the break back upside. This is the preferred pullback. As you can see, price action came down under the T10 and then pushed back to the upside on a 100-tick range chart. And finally, let's wrap up with our airlines, as it was all about the transports today. Here we could see the three majors, Southwest, American, and United Airlines. Again, same strategy here. If you've been following the airlines, you wanted to short it, all you had to do was wait for the setup there, solid Heikin-Ashi bar, and you would have been in the downtrend today on all three. And actually, Delta Airlines coming. Now, these three, Southwest, American, and United, have all broken their 200-day line, so something to consider. Watch for price action tomorrow. But here you have the Delta Airlines, which is finding support at its 200, as you've seen in the most recent drops, not really being able to break much below that, so finding support there. And finally, our last charts, the following four airlines: JetBlue, I want to talk about here in a second, Ryanair, Spirit Airlines, and Alaska Group, also showing slight downtrends with the rest of the transports here in relation possibly to crude. Here you can see a nice trend line upside as it was pushing and broke that. Let's take a look at JetBlue, as JetBlue has had some phenomenal performance on the IBD. Go to their stock page where you can find more information about investing in JetBlue. I went ahead and its fundamentals. I wrote an article here at seeitmarket.com on JetBlue riding the trend higher. As you can see, the initial crossing was way back long ago with possible opportunities for re-entry. And as you can see, really just slightly dropping today. So if your belief fundamentals, which is a very strong group, JetBlue is one of the stronger airlines, you wait for the T35 to go back upside to re-enter and continue the uptrend as it has been for all these months back from the beginning of the year. That concludes today's Spotlight Trend Trades of the Day. My trading mantra of one simple strategy: any market, any chart, any time frame that will keep you disciplined. I know most of the charts that I trade are intraday, but just wanted to show you guys that this can be used as simply and as easily, no confusion on charts, for swing trades or daily trades, and to find a verifiable and reliable source out there to find your fundamentals for value-based investing. Hey guys, have yourself a Blue Zone day.